Ashley Macron. My dad's books. My dad's books. Ashley Macron.
My dad worked second shift at a steel mill. And I can still see his brown leather boots and that black arch-top lunchbox stationed by the door. Well, one day I went over and I slipped my 4-year-old toes down into Dad's boots. Then I grabbed that plastic handle on the lunchbox and I stood up straight and tall. I was ready to go to work too. Would you believe that later that same year, my dad was laid off? Those times of recession and unemployment in the 1970s are not all that different from where we stand today with thousands of hard workers hardly working. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, today we're going to open up this time capsule lunchbox and see what's inside. Now, I know you're all hungry for dinner, but there's no sandwiches in here. All right? But it's full of memories. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what I learned watching my dad survive a down economy. And I'm going to give you 3 simple tips that you can apply to your own life. The first is humor. My dad loved to laugh. He had a repertoire of jokes and songs and silly stories and poems. Unfortunately, it wasn't until much later in life that I realized I should not have been telling those jokes. Some other parts of his humor, though, were just a little offbeat, like this poem that he used to attribute to Sir Alfred Lord Tennyson. As I awoke this morning, when all sweet things are born, there perched a little robin on my windowsill to herald the coming morn. He sang his song so sweetly, and within a moment's lull, I let the window down and crushed his little skull. I know that's awful. It's just a good thing that PETA never heard it tell that way. So humor's one way to cope with these hard times. The second is good old-fashioned hard work. Now, just because my dad was laid off, it didn't mean that he had to stop working. My grandfather gave him 2 acres, and he built the house where I spent most of my growing up years. He was so proud of that place. We moved in on January 13th, 1976. January. As my mom would say, it's cold as blue blazes. Well, it was our house. And my dad didn't have to pay $90 a month rent anymore. Well, over the next 10 years, I watched my dad finish that house inside and out as sweat dripped off the tip of his nose. So humor and hard work are 2 things that will get you through these hard times. But sometimes those hard times just get harder. That brings us to our third point of a loving family. 9 months after we moved into that new house, my sister Melinda died. Due to complications at birth, she was born with severe cerebral palsy. She was terribly frail because the diet that you get through a feeding tube really doesn't put a lot of meat on your bones. Even though she was 13 years old, her life was spent either sitting in a stroller or lying in the crib. And I can't imagine how hard it was for my dad to say goodbye to the twinkle in his eye. But she taught us a lot about what it means to be a loving family. True love that's earned through refining of the soul. So it's in those very trying times that loving families draw strength from one another. But I'm glad that those hard times don't last. And when those good times come back, loving families are playful. In this new house where we moved in, there was an indoor running track. You could start in the kitchen, run through the living room, down the hall, cut through Mom and Dad's back bathroom, in the bedroom, back through the kitchen, and you could just keep going in a circle like that. Well, on more than one occasion, I watched my dad chase my mom around that loop. And she would be squealing and flailing. Now, as a prepubescent, I really didn't understand very much about romance. But what I did understand was when my dad would catch my mom, they would swing their arms around each other and kiss and caress. Now, I'm just looking for a house where I can chase my wife like that. So what did we find in this old lunchbox today? Did we find savvy financial strategies? Or did we find breakthrough job search tactics? No. We found 3 values that matter most. You can weather any storm that comes your way with humor, hard work, and a loving family. So it's in times like these that I find myself walking in my Father's footsteps while wearing my dad's boots. Madam Toastmaster.